What is up, everybody? We are about to get started to talk about All-Star Superman number 10, which I have so many questions for you, Morgan. Lots of things I personally don't understand about this issue. Earth Q, what is it? What's happening? Are you planning an uprising on this place? So we are going to be talking about that issue, and we'll have something fun up top. You have not seen this, Morgan, but
Yes.
I had a friend of ours create something that we talked about last week. So we'll discuss that
Ooh.
as we get into it, just for fun. Nothing that probably anybody else cares about it, but I think it's fun. So we'll dig into it.
I'm sure I care about it.
Yes, I think everyone should care about it. It will be delightful. Well, if you have your doc, I have mine, and I think our audio sounds good and everybody looks good. So I guess we'll go ahead and get started then.
McGurk! I love
Not
typing.
mess with my Google Docs, Meeksy.
Supergirl Radio is going live every night of the week. How do you like it? Is becoming a human burrito a plus or a minus? I don't know. It does seem snug.
I mean, they say you are what you eat.
Kira. I love that.
So I do a podcast called Supergirl Radio, and one of our segments is Lena Luthor, Boardroom or Ballroom, because
She looks like a boss in this coat.
Nasty Luthor like a different Luthor? It's not just Lena being mean?
No.
Helen
Sloan Slater here. It's so fun to know that you're hosting a podcast called Supergirl Radio.
Welcome to Supergirl Radio, your source for all things related to the character of Kara Zor-El. My name is Rebecca Johnson.
I'm Morgan Glennon.
And for this episode of the podcast, we are live and wired to review All-Star Superman number 10, which was written by Grant Morrison with pencils by Frank Whiteley, digitally inked and colored by Jamie Grant, and lettered by Phil Bossman and Travis Lanham. But before we get to our discussion of this issue, or as the series calls it, this episode, the episode of Supergirl Radio that we did previously, when we talked about All-Star Superman number 9, we had mentioned that in the story, Clark Kent, his excuse for being gone for 2 months is that he's stuck in his bathroom with the complete works of Shakespeare.
Nobody questioned it. Nobody makes sense.
Nobody questioned it, but we, in our discussion, wondered what would it look like? Would he have Shakespeare things in his bathroom? Would it be a Shakespearean themed bathroom? Do those exist? Should they exist? And
we make them exist.
We can make them exist, actually. So I thought it would be fun to share some images created by artificial intelligence. Created by our friend of the pod, Bill Meeks, through artificial intelligence. He took the prompt and gave us many options to choose from. So I just thought we'd go through them and kind of critique what we like it or dislike about each of them. So the first, maybe, I don't know, we have several, so we'll have to go through these quick. But the first grouping of them, I think had a prompt of it was more concerned about the shelves and the works of Shakespeare on the shelves. So we'll go through these real quick to see how these look. So this is
beautiful.
So lots of shelves. The works of Shakespeare are on the shelves. There is a stained glass window of Shakespeare.
Nice touch.
So very Shakespearean, very wood, beautiful, heavy, elegant, beautiful gold bathtub. Everything looks great. So some of these are going to look sort of similar, stained glass windows.
I like the Shakespeare stained glass in this better. I feel like it has a little bit more of a jaunty personality.
Yeah. So the bathtub still has a little bit of gold in it. The Shakespearean works are on shelves.
Also, there's a book open with a feather quill. So just in case you, while in the bath, have a inspiration of your own Shakespeare-like work, you can rush over and then start jaunting it down with your quill pen, as Shakespeare might have.
In case you want to write your own Shakespearean type play, you could do that. This is another version of just walls of shelves of just books. So lots of variations on the theme. Chandelier in this one hanging from the ceiling.
Very fancy.
Purple. So
shelves. Many books here. This is like a library's worth of books in this one.
I kind of like the color scheme here with the purples and the greens and the gold.
Yeah, this one's fun.
Yeah, I like that. It's a fun room. This one has I think it's a painting of William Shakespeare. But it's kind of creepy because it looks like a mirror.
It's right where a mirror would be. And I like to think that it's a similar effect of when you're in the Haunted Mansion in Disney World.
Yes.
And they have the ghosts going home with you. You look up and you can see your reflection in the mirror, but looming over you, ever present, is Shakespeare.
That's a little creepy because he's watching you as you take a bath.
He's watching you brush your teeth. He's watching you in the bath. And I gotta be honest, this one I don't like.
It's a little menacing.
It is very menacing.
I like the window though. Still on the little table though, you can still write your own play if you feel the need to do so. Going back to the purple green color scheme. The window is there's not really a window really.
Yeah, I don't.
A little darker.
That? It looks like a chalkboard.
but all the works of Shakespeare are open for you.
Yeah, so you could just read that one page from the bath.
You would have to have really good eyesight.
Maybe it's all the same book, just open to different pages.
Ooh, so then you just scan each book.
He's gonna scan each one. It's
So-
wasteful, but it works.
It's eventful.
Ah!
This also has the purple and green color scheme.
Oh.
Yeah, so this variations on the themes of all the books on the shelves. I like this one with the like the
Oh,
steam coming off the
homey.
bathtub. A little cup of coffee there. There's a chair in the bathroom if you wanted to sit and read,
Yeah.
and a view of a beautiful garden outside.
This one looks like the one I'd like want to hang out in. Although, like, I guess I like to think of this as like a bathroom that doesn't have a toilet in there. Because I hate the idea of the opposite side of this view, which is you're just staring at the toilet as you're in there.
Or someone staring through the window at you.
And you're
Yeah.
like, oh hey, just working on my Shakespeare, eating this turkey leg. Don't worry about me.
I assume that you live in the country or like a secure garden. You have a high
No-
wall in your garden. I think
No
it's
one's
fine.
coming to get you, even though you've missed work for several weeks, because you're in your Shakespeare bathroom.
This is the last one that has the shelving.
Oh,
Very homey.
beautiful.
Lots of coffee, a nice window. So
I want to say, just for the record, I don't love the idea of like a cloth chair in a bathroom.
it's
I
a
feel like
choice.
that's Mold City, baby, but you do you.
Okay, so the next set of these are more heavy on the Shakespeare.
Oh boy.
So on the man, with the William Shakespeare, the man. So this one,
No.
this one is a more modern take with like
Wow.
I think Shakespeare on the walls of the shower. I think with Shakespeare again in the mirror.
In the
So-
mirror. Okay, so I did say that like I liked the previous ones, but I hadn't seen this one yet. And this one's
They
the
get
best one.
better.
This one's the best one for me because there's just a bust of Shakespeare in the shower, like directly under the shower head. So I like to think about how, if you were to use this as a functional shower, how you'd have to like be right next to Shakespeare the whole time as you're like lathering your hair. Just be like, hello, sir.
You would be showering with Shakespeare. I think
really
it's great. This is another similar concept with the Shakespeare dialogue, I guess, hanging on the walls, in the walls of the shower, a bust of Shakespeare on the countertop. So this is more like you're immersing yourself in the words of Shakespeare.
It's just like more of a theme. You're looking up in the mirror. You think you're gonna like, how am I looking today? It doesn't matter because what really matters is the works of William Shakespeare. And he's in that mirror instead.
You're just gonna not know what you look like for the rest of the day.
It doesn't matter. Do you know Shakespeare? Do you even know him?
But you will be able to recite a sonnet. It will be fine. This one, I like the lighting in this one.
This one's a jump scare. Yeah, he's like backlit, and it also kind of looks like in the one that again is in the mirror position. It kind of looks like it's his mugshot.
Definitely a portrait.
Yeah,
It then reflects into the mirror behind you.
So he's sort of everywhere. He's in the shower too. So if you're in you're in the shower, just sort of trying to like, go about your day, get ready in the morning. He's just looking over you always.
So much so that he is in the shower with you in your mirror and then in the reflection of the mirror. So we got 3 left to go.
Each one more startling than the last.
The way I planned it. This one is I like the lighting here. It's got like a futuristic like blue that's lighting all like the bathtub and the shower.
This looks like the little like bathtub that they put them in like the Minority Report when they're just they're just sort of like dreaming about future crimes. But yeah, I mean, here you could dream about the complete works of William Shakespeare as he looks on at you disapprovingly, really.
Yeah, so the color scheme here I like. It's the blues and the gold, so very cool. I like this one.
This one's futuristic. Oh God, so is this one. This one is even if the last one was very Minority Report, somehow this one is even more so. Like this is the Shakespeare bathroom that you have in like a future dystopia for sure.
Yeah. So the bathtub does not look as comfortable.
No.
It's not as big. You're not really going for like, maybe this is like a hand washing station. Maybe this is like a sink. Maybe this is not necessarily a bathtub.
Yeah. Maybe it's more of like a plunge pool, you know?
Yeah. I don't know. I love the big faces of William Shakespeare in the lighting. I think these are kind of, the other ones were like homey and quaint. These are like you're bringing William Shakespeare into the future.
Shakespeare is here. It's the future. I don't know that he likes you. So that's a fun wrinkle if you wanted to add that to your morning routine.
Well, Shakespeare, I guess, didn't write a lot about happy things. A lot of tragedies in his portfolio. All right, here's the last one. Kind of similar.
Oh no,
a different bathroom. Oh, yeah. A different maybe or is it a sink? Or is it?
I don't know what's
like
going on
in
this. So this one is this is for sure that like little jail cell that they kept Magneto in, right? Like, why does it seem to have like glass? It looks like it has like a glass partition. Like, this is when they get the supervillain and they need a place to put them. This is where they put them. They put them in this Shakespeare bathroom.
You talked about Magneto. I was also thinking maybe Luke Skywalker when he's rescued, I think, from Hoth in Empire Strikes Back. They put him in that thing with the thing on his face. And he's like hovering in the water. I think maybe that could be maybe you're like lowered into it.
Oh, yeah.
Like hover into it. So this one's very futuristic. But it looks like it still has to be plugged into an outlet.
Yeah, maybe in the future, this is how you learn the complete works of William Shakespeare.
Oh, like osmosis.
Yeah. They put you in the Shakespeare tube. And then you come out just knowing all his complete works.
Yes, I like it. So thank you to Bill Meeks for indulging us.
Incredible work.
I told him I would pay for it. He said he would do it for free.
He's just doing it for love of the game, man.
So Bill made our dreams of a Shakespearean themed bathroom come to life. Now we have ideas. Now, if we ever want to do it, we've got to start.
Listen, in a future home, when I get to the contractors, I can now give them concept art. I'm like, yes, I want it to look like that. And they're like, that looks like a jail cell. And I'm like, or does it look like a relaxing home away from home?
So we would like to imagine that Clark Kent spent his time in his bathroom reading the complete works of Shakespeare with Thanksgiving baskets in a room that looked something similar to one of these images.
Abby in the chat says, Alex trying to escape from that shower with only pants.
That is a Supergirl season 2 reference, if anybody needs to know.
Perfect reference. And I can see it too, because it does look like somewhere that they would be like, try to get out of this, and then like the Shakespeares pop up and Alex is just like,
Alex Danvers could escape with only her pants. That is very true. Well, okay, so that was All-Star Superman number 9. So let's get into All-Star
I can only imagine what's going to be in number 10.
Yeah, so this is All-Star Superman number 10. The description for this episode of the series, it's titled Never Ending, and it reads, quote, resigned to his fate, Superman writes his last will and testament, revealing how he has prepared the planet to live in a world without him, unquote. So Morgan, my first question to you about this episode is that it's formatted in such a way that it uses the time of day in every other scene or so, and so there's multiple times that are happening. It doesn't specify what day it is. It doesn't specify your location, but it gives you the time.
Yes.
So I wondered what your thoughts were on the use of time in this issue, and did you think it was beneficial to you as a reader?
No, because I started to be like, is this all the same day? And I don't have an answer for that. I think so. I think we're supposed to think this is the same day. I think that's what we're supposed to be getting out of it. But I flipped through it a lot and I was like, okay, well, like, yeah, I guess it could be the same day, but like, man, what a day. What a packed, he's really packed a lot into 24 hours, arguably too much. So I thought that the timestamps were just started to confuse me a little bit as I went along, because at first I was like, oh, I guess it's going to be like maybe like a day in the life or something. But then as the different activities were more and more like very different, very sort of like not really connected to each other, the more I had to ask, wait, is this the same day? Is it a different day? We're still doing the time thing. And I think that's probably on me. I think if I charted out, if I made a timeline like I should when you're reading a comic book, I would have understood. I would have understood that it was all supposed to. I think it's supposed to be the same day. See, I'm still questioning it though. I'm like, yeah, I think it is, and I think it. I don't know. I just wish it was a little bit more clear on whether or not like that's what we were doing. I also think that what ends up really throwing me off is like the new, and we'll talk about this a lot because what was happening there, but the new Earth that Superman is building also has its own timestamps, but they're like really intense timestamps, and it's like every time we're checking back in, their civilization is like growing and expanding. And I was like, is this all happening in 24 hours? Like, gosh, that's really very stressful to have to go through all of civilization in like 24 hours. Like, why is he doing that to these little tiny people on this little Earth? Why would you do that? Anyway, so that really threw me off as well.
Okay, we will definitely talk about Earth Q maybe first thing. I will say that I tried to make notes based on the timestamps, but I got so confused. And and maybe it's because my notes, I was trying to put the timestamps corresponding to like Earth Q, and then I put the timestamps that went with Candor and the timestamps that went with Superman. And so maybe I should have put them like in an order, but the book, the issue doesn't put them in like a chronological order. So it's tough to keep up with. And I don't really think it, in my opinion, added really to anything. I think maybe the timestamps of Earth Q might have been important, but I don't think the timestamps for the rest of them, I don't feel like really added to the storytelling of it. And I think it just made it very confusing. So I personally, even though I did make notes and tried to make something of a timeline, it didn't really help very much.
Yeah, I just think that like, I don't know that all of this stuff happening in one day feels necessary, and I don't know that it like really, to me at least, didn't add a lot to the story to know that, you know, he starts his day at 7 a.m. saving a school bus, and he ends his day like sending Lois his headline of Superman dying. It's okay, but like I don't know that this all needed to happen specifically on one day, or that it like improved the narrative to know it was all happening on one day. I don't know. Like I thought it kind of added an element where I started to get confused, and I don't know that the element was like essential to the story.
Yeah, I think you could have maybe done those a couple of times, but I don't think it needed to be done as heavily as it was. I think somebody thought, oh, this will be a fun structure for this issue, and I don't think it was fun. As a reader, it was not fun to read.
Like, wait, what's going on? And I had to like, after I finished the issue, like I went back and I was like, wait, I don't know. I feel like some of those time frames conflicted. And then I looked it over and I was like, okay, I guess they didn't. But like, I think what ended up throwing me was the cube Earth.
Yes.
Which again is insane. But like the cube Earth situation being in the timeline, I think makes the timeline more confusing. I think that if it was just, and the fact that like nothing's really going in chronological order. So like we jump to like 11:30, and then we jump to like noon, then we jump to like 4:30, and then at some point we jump back, and I was like, oh wait, like now he's going back to do the thing that he did earlier in the book, I guess. Bunsen didn't like it either. He thought it was too confusing. He says, I'm just a cat. I can't keep up with all of this.
He doesn't tell time.
He can't tell time. He doesn't know. He knows breakfast time. He knows dinner time. Those are the only two times he knows. And he thinks dinner time should be like 2:30 p.m. And it never is, Bunsen. It's never 2:30. What did you do?
Uh-oh. Is he okay?
I think they've been fighting.
Uh-oh. No.
Oh, poor buddy. Did you win?
You should have seen the other guy.
Yeah, that's what he's saying. He's like, you don't see Beaker here, do you? I won.
You better check on Beaker after
Poor
we
Beaker.
record.
Knowing Beaker, if they were fighting, Beaker would just be screaming, win or lose.
Well, we hope the lab cats are okay. So I think that the timestamp situation was mostly unhelpful and mostly just confused me worse as I was reading this. I will say the time I think that it did help was with the Earth Q stuff. So Morgan, we should talk about Earth Q.
Sure.
It was for me one of the most bizarre parts of the issue. So I have lots of questions for you. So when I read it, the way I interpreted this is that Superman was hit one of his challenges that he's doing 12 challenges before he dies. And one of them is to create life. So I guess, does this qualify as the creating life challenge?
I guess he's like, I feels like a TikTok challenge, like create a world challenge. Everybody get ready with me as I create a new planet. Yeah, I think this is one of the challenges. It's like, the create life challenge. Although you could make an argument that when he talks to Quintum and he gives Quintum his DNA and like human DNA and like tells him how to splice it together, that is also a life creation challenge. So like, I don't know why he needs to like overextend himself on this one. I feel like one will do.
He does say that he is, I think, doing this Earth Q business because he wants to see a world without Superman. And I was like, why do you need to create a world to do that? Because you could just read a history book and understand what happened before you arrived.
This also really threw me because it's not like Superman came with the dawning of time and has just been chilling the whole time here. He, came at a certain point, depending on when you're reading the comics. It's usually like 20, 30 years before, and he's been there since. But he wasn't there, say, in Victorian times. I don't think he was like around to stop Jack the Ripper or whatever. So you can kind of, there's arguably more time that humanity has without Superman.
True.
Than with him. Also, this is the kind of story where it's not earthbound, right? So there's different planets that we know about. Why not just visit any of those? I know they're not like humans, but you could see like, oh, hey, here's a planet without superheroes. How are they doing?
Yeah, it did not make any sense to me that he needed to do this because he could research this. And I don't want to burst Superman's bubble, but like humanity, I think is going to be okay.
Yeah,
like we're all going to be sad if Superman dies.
Such a bummer.
But like humanity continues on. The world continues to revolve. So it's just to me, it felt like he was really thinking very highly of himself. Oh, well, I've got to know, what is the world going to be like without me? They're not going to be able to make it.
I think there are also like a lot of moral implications for making an entire like Earth or an entire planet just to see how it's going to go.
And how it's going to somehow be related to you. This is very selfish.
Like there are these people on this new cube Earth that are learning how to, create a fire, do tools.
Yeah,
then
language.
They're making monuments. They're creating civilizations. They're drawing their own Supermen. A cute reference. I will give them that. But like they're living these full lives, but only really at the behest of Superman, just to see what's gonna happen. It's like he like has kind of like an ant farm. It's like a worse version of the bottle city of Gandor, because at least he like respects those people. They're not a science project to him.
They can do whatever they want to in the bottle city.
Exactly. He's just like, how's it going in there? And at any time, I feel like there is an implication that he can just kind of pull the plug on this thing. Not good. and I feel like it's not reflecting positively on Superman when you sometimes flash to Lex Luthor, who was like, he's gone crazy, and you're like, Oh no, is he right?
Lex Luthor might have a point here. I was trying to figure out what the Earth Q stuff was trying to say, because the timestamps, the reason why I thought it was so interesting is that the first time we see its timestamp, I think, is 11:59:59 p.m. And this is where like the native people who are like first here on Earth Q, they're drawing on the cave walls, they're creating a language, and it takes place at night. And then the next time we see it is 11:59:59 9:14 p.m., which I would assume is like very soon after this. So this part takes place during the day, even though it's like right after, I think, the cave wall situation. Then the next time we see them is 11:59:59 9:80 p.m. And it seems to go from like cave walls, figuring out language, to then like talking about it sounded like there was an uprising that was happening, that they were like planning something.
It seems like they're talking about like philosophy now. And they're like in the public square, they're like debating ideas and things like that. They're sort of talking about, imitation is man's nature, and so shall he suppress even imagination's greatest paragon. So it's like yeah, we can do anything that we put our minds to, even like the stories. And then yeah, when you flip back, we've gotten to Superman, them creating a comic book version of Superman. So I was like, okay, this is all happening. I guess this is supposed to be happening along like many years.
So who is creating the comic book version of Superman?
Mind the Gap has a good comment, which I think is absolutely correct. Earth Q is our world. Earth Q is our Earth.
Okay, I understand what that's trying to say, in that it's showing how humanity develops over time. But if that's literally supposed to be our world, so Superman is the creator of the universe?
He is.
I'm so sorry. I do not like that. I think that is ridiculous and stupid, and I hate it.
Superman has created us all.
So, I don't love that, if that is the case. I understand that it's like our world, but if it is our world,
is a world without Superman. But we do have this drawing of him that's really pretty cool.
And it looks like
it
looks like the original sort of take on Superman. So I could see that, like,
it got to the creators of Superman, which I'm sure if I look down, Jerry Siegler and
Jerry and Joe.
So they have just created Superman in this Earth Q, in this cube Earth. I mean, sure.
So is it saying that, this is just me, I guess, reading into it, it's saying that in a world where there is no Superman, we still need a Superman.
We would still
create him. So
Superman.
He was creating a world without a Superman, but because of things that had happened, we ended up creating him anyway.
Yeah. I see a comment from Mind the Gap who says it was a Siegel and Schuster because Morrison had to change the last line for legal reasons. Originally, they said they were going to be rich,
which didn't end up happening, unfortunately.
Didn't happen for them.
The real creators of Superman actually sold Superman for very little and did not make much at all. And that is to the shame, I think, of the comic book industry and for how that went down. But I think now creators are getting a little bit more respect in that arena. So unfortunately that didn't happen with Joe and Jerry, but they created something that has lasted a long, long time. Okay. Well, I can see how that could be interesting.
I think that's exactly what it is though. Like, yeah, I was struggling with that storyline in this issue, but now it makes sense to me. So yes, this Earth Q, which Superman created himself because he was bored and needed a little science fair project, is our Earth. It doesn't have a Superman, but eventually one is created. He is not real and he can't save a school bus. But he is a comic book character, and Superman probably lovingly looked on and thought, cool, and then I guess wandered away to die. How's our world gonna go?
Yeah,
Who knows?
I have mixed feelings on it. I think it's kind of interesting, but I also don't like the idea that like Superman created a world. I think people complain a lot about how Superman's too powerful, and they talk about how he can like move planets, and he can withstand a lot of weapons and things that come out at him. Well, if he's creating like entire life and a planet, that's too like I can see him like flying so fast he time travels. Yes, I get that, but like creating life, like literally creating life that exists on a planet, I don't know, I don't love that. I don't love it. So it's not my favorite thing in this issue. So because I does that make him God? Does that make him a god? I guess to them it
Maybe.
would.
To us.
To us.
To us. Yeah, it's the whole Earth Q situation was, I thought, the weirdest thing in an issue where many weird things happened. And it was still the one that made me go, what are we doing now? What are we doing here? What are we doing? That one was very strange to me. And I also felt unnecessary. Like you said, he hasn't been around for all of human history. So if he wanted to know how a world without Superman would go, he could just open a history book. It's going to be mixed. He doesn't need to create like we are his science fair project. He didn't need to do that.
Yeah, I don't love it, but I guess it's kind of interesting in terms of how it incorporates us in our world into the comic book. So I guess where should we go from here? I guess we could tie well, I guess you mentioned Clark Kent writing the Death of Superman article that's in there.
Oh, yeah.
And I guess that's maybe skipping to the end, but I guess let's go ahead and talk about it. The article, he doesn't even give it to Lois. He writes it himself.
Pretty brutal. Pretty brutal. You know what? Honestly, I had to say I respected that, because based on the way that Lois treats Clark, that this would be my last, like, well, how about that to her?
Well, and I guess for this, like if it was another Lois, I would want Lois to write it, but this Lois is kind of the worst. So
yes, true.
So, and she wouldn't have cared about Clark. She would only care about
she's
Superman.
very mean. She's very mean to Clark. So I do feel like this was justified.
So I think it's very fitting. So, but I was kind of confused because I don't think did Superman die, or is he just writing this preemptively?
I'm wondering if like because in the beginning when he's which I guess is also the end, because time is where he's recording his last will and testament, he's sweating quite a bit.
Oh yeah.
He doesn't look like he's doing great. So maybe Superman is about to die. Like maybe he thinks that this is his last day, and this is how he's spent, and that's how the timeline, that's why the timeline matters in this story, is that this is how Superman spent his last day.
Okay, I could see the justification for the time stamps now, if that was the case.
Yeah, that wasn't super clear to me either, because I was like, I don't, until the end where I was like, oh, okay, I think that's what they're doing with it. But yeah, I mean, we obviously we haven't seen him die yet, so he does seem like he's jumping the gun a little bit, but I mean, it's not like he could write the article after he died. So
because doesn't he say that he has he's accomplished 7 of the 12 challenges so far, so he still has, I think, 5 left.
Did he slam them all out in this issue?
I am not sure. He does say that, well, he needs, I think, to still overcome the tyrant son Solaris. I don't know if he's done that yet.
I don't think so.
But he definitely answered the unanswerable question, and he created life. I don't know what the other ones were, but each challenge, the issue says, brings Superman closer to death. So he's getting weaker as he accomplishes these challenges.
So maybe like figuring out what to do with the Bottle City of Kandor finally getting to that item on his to-do list. Maybe that's one of the challenges.
maybe he will finally help them. Which I guess is a good segue into Kandor. because there's a lot of Kandorian stuff in this issue. So, Morgan, what did you think about the effort to talk about Superman? Like, the people in Kandor are aware, it seems, of Superman dying, and they want to help him out with an organization that's called the Kandor Emergency Corps, which I thought was going to be like the Superman Emergency Squad, but maybe it's a different title here. But
I don't think I'm familiar with the Superman Emergency Squad.
So sometimes they show up in Supergirl comics too, but they're little people, I think little Kandorian people with the uniforms, and they come and they help Superman. So it's so cute to where they don't get big. they're just little people. Miniaturized people, like helping Superman do something. So I think that's kind of the vibe here. So Morgan, what did you think about the Kandorian people, like holding their council and trying to make decisions about their fate?
One of my favorite panels is they're sort of out on the ledge. They're talking. What's his name? His name is like Vanzi. He's like, oh, I'm going gray. And in the background, you can just see Superman's eyes as he peers down on them, and all seeing God.
Oh,
basically.
Yeah.
The idea that these Kandorians, like at all times, just watch this giant sort of wandering around, playing with his giant human-sized chess set, like
Titanic.
In his Titanic, and they're just like, oh yes, we're going about our lives, hustle and bustle of the major city. There's that giant weirdo that we see constantly, and oh, look at, he's hand sewing a costume for his girlfriend. Cool. Doesn't seem like he's got a lot going on, and we've been in here for quite a while. But anyway, whatever. It's just, I thought it was really funny that like you can kind of see his giant face. Like, how terrifying would that be if like you went outside, like you're getting in your car to go to work, you look up at the sky, just a bunch of eyes are staring at you, and you're like, oh, I guess Superman remembered us today.
Yeah, I guess it goes back to that sort of all-seeing, all-knowing eye that, and creator God, like in the Earth Q situation. The Kandorians probably feel that way too. So yeah, I can't imagine it's pleasant for them. Although they do seem to take real pride in themselves. They want to, hold their councils and make their own decisions and try to do what they can to help. And so I think the Kandorians are trying to operate as normal. But how could you do that with this giant Superman hanging above you and staring at you? It is very strange.
I like to think that like in the beginning of the run, when like Lois and Superman were on their romantic date, like some of the Kandorians, like when they're bored and something's going on in the fortress, they like look outside. They're like, oh my God, his girlfriend's here.
And they grab a bag of popcorn. And they're like, oh my gosh, you guys.
Oh my God, Lois is here. Oh my God. Is it just me, or does she not seem to like him very much? Like they're just always kind of silent, like silently judging his life choices.
Mystery Science Theater up in there.
This is like my nightmare, is that there would just be an entire city full of people that's like, did she need that second piece of cheese?
The answer is yes. The answer is
yes,
always
yes.
Yeah. So the problem with the Kandor Emergency Corps is they try, I think, to help Superman. Like did I read it right that they went into Superman trying to go inside his body to like fix his disease sort of problem, but they couldn't do it.
Yeah, and I thought that part was really, really weird because we don't see them go in. I guess kind of thank God, honestly. I didn't want to see Superman like eat a bunch of Kandorians or whatever, or however he got them in.
Maybe they flew in through his ear or something. Is that better?
Each of the options are bad, so I choose not to think about it. But like, it's just kind of like a magic school bus kind of situation we see, where they're like amongst all the different cells in his body, and they're like, Superman, we can't do it. And Superman's like, thanks, little buddy. I didn't think you could, which is brutal.
But they do seem to come in handy with the kids in the hospital that Superman visits. So he basically sort of throws them out in the hospital, and they, I guess, are able to heal the kids in the hospital. So that's a nice
children. These little people are going to crawl inside of you and fix you. Could you imagine the kids, like, after they start feeling better, trying to explain to their parents, and then the little people came in, they fixed all my cells. It's like, sure, Susie.
They're like, we need to talk to the doctor about this.
She's feeling a lot better physically.
What did you do to my kid while I was not here? That does seem to be something where the parents should be involved. I don't think there were any parental notifications
No,
here
he
before.
just flung those little Kandorians right at all the sick kids.
I don't think they really had a choice very much in that decision. So I guess the Kandorians did come in handy to help heal and resolve some sickness for someone else, but they couldn't do it for Superman.
They couldn't help Superman. In fact, he says, the truth is, I only needed your help long enough to accomplish today's tasks. So I think we're supposed to, but like, when do they pop in? They only pop in at like 11 a.m., right? See, this is when like the timeline to me starts to get like really confusing, because Quintum goes into the bottle city of Kandor with its 8 times gravity and his little fancy cane and Jimmy Olsen outfit. I like that we've established that Jimmy Olsen, his wardrobe is like a lunatic wardrobe. It's like the craziest stuff you could ever imagine. It's like going to a theater costume room. It's like, Jimmy's got it. Don't worry. You need a traditional Kandorian garb? Don't worry, sir. I got it here. But he goes in there at like 10:30. So I guess like he was just doing all of his other tasks in the morning by himself without the little Kandorian swimming around in him, because I think that the earliest that they could have gone in was like 11-ish. Because they're having this conversation at 11 a.m. So
yeah, that's right.
I have to assume that the earliest that they could have that he could have, I don't know, let's say tossed them down or swallowed them and crushed them up and took them like pills was like 11 o'clock in the morning. So I don't know. Again, it's all very confusing. I don't know that the timeline aspect of this was needed.
Speaking of the timeline, Mind the Gap in the chat connects all the dots on the challenges for us.
Nice.
So the first one is that Superman made a contract with the sun, created the super elixir. Number 3, answered the unanswerable question. Number 4, fought the chronivore. Number 5, saved Earth from Bizarro World. Number 6, escaped the Underverse. Number 7, created Earth Q, and then 8, freed the Kandorians. So now he's accomplished 8, I guess, of the 12. So I guess he still has 4 that he still needs to achieve. So Kandorians kind of short-lived here, but they do play an important part there at the end of the issue. I guess we could
wait. Just quickly, speaking of Kandor, so I guess I'm a little bit unclear on what they ultimately did to with Kandor. To me, it seems like what they did was they put Kandor, the little tiny city, on Mars, and they were like, good luck. Then they took it out of its bottle, and they were like, enjoy Mars. I know that you are all very tiny, very, very tiny, but I think it'll be fine.
Yeah, I don't know if they're going to be able to make it bigger, because I know in the new Krypton storyline, they take Kandor, little bitty Kandor, and they like enlarge Kandor to life size. So I don't know if that eventually would happen with Kandor on Mars. That's my guess. I don't know if anybody in the chat can shed some light on that, but that was my guess.
It just didn't seem very safe to me. Like if like there's a strong wind, it feels like it could blow over their tiny buildings. They've been in a real like climate controlled situation up until right now, and now he's just like, I'm just gonna drop you guys off. You guys are gonna be fine, right? I mean, they are flying through the air, so they're enjoying the effects of the sun. But I don't know. I had some follow-up questions about him just sort of dropping them off on Mars.
Yeah, I hope they come back to that at some point with Candor to kind of follow up on what was going on there.
Mind the Gap says in the chat, but they have Superman level strength now, which I guess, listen, if there's like a bad breeze, Mars breeze, they can at least use their superpowers to repair their own cities.
That's
now,
true. That's
so-
true. They could build things very fast, and
That's true.
yeah, and make things withstand any kind of trouble that would come their way.
And Superman seems pretty confident too. He says, "To the proud survivors of Candor, my kin, I leave a third golden age." Oh, do you? I don't know. Superman in this issue feels like he is way too powerful.
Yeah,
I'm turning against him.
Yeah, this almost feels like an out of control Superman. Like
he's like really going through something. Like in the second issue when he makes Lois the costume, it's very much like, would a depressed person make this? and then this also feels like going through something. He's like, okay, I gave you a golden age, and they were like, we just kind of want it out of the little bottle, man.
Yeah.
I didn't ask for the rest of the
just don't keep us in here anymore. Yeah, I think he's a little high on his horse. I think Superman here.
He is. He's really doing it. He's like, I created a whole Earth where they drew a comic book about how great I am. So not to toot my own horn, but toot. He's like looking back on his life, and he's like, I was awesome.
Also, I did have a question about so on Earth Q, there's a gentleman at 11:59:59:996 p.m. on Earth Q who is like writing by candlelight, like writing a manuscript, and it says, "Behold, I teach you the Superman." Is that who do we think that is?
I think
Do we know who that is?
I would guess it's like Nietzsche.
Maybe so. That's kind of what I was wondering.
Because it's like, Superman sort of based off of the concept of like the Ubermensch, the Superman. So that's who I assumed it was.
He did have I think he did have a mustache. So I think that is Nietzsche.
And it also seemed like it happened before the timeline
before Jerry and Joe create
the Superman, because we see in that timeline there's like buildings, there's rudimentary cars and streetcars, but the Behold, I Teach You the Superman, he's like doing it by what looks like candlelight or so it looks like it's an earlier time than like than when we flash back to Earth Q and we're getting our original DC Superman.
Okay, I just wanted to clarify that before we move on so we could confirm who that is, but I think that's right. So we've talked about how Superman is kind of godlike here in this issue. He's very sort of high on himself. He's created life. He's
done it.
Previously on Supergirl Radio in All-Star Superman issues, we've talked about Frankenstein on ice. It's alive. He is now Dr. Frankenstein creating life.
He's created like several versions of life in this issue alone. So he's created a new civilization by putting Candor on Mars and being like, good luck, little guys. And then he's created an entire civilization, entire world with Earth Q. And then also at the end, he creates a way to combine human and Kryptonian strands. So he's very much created life in a different way. So he's created life seemingly like 3 different ways in this issue.
Seems like 3 times too many.
Yes,
for him to create life.
It's intense. It's intense. He's just really doing the most right now. He's like, I've only got I feel like I'm probably dying. I've only got 1 day left. Like, what's everything that I could get off of my to-do list? And it's nice that Candor finally made the cut. After he was shamed in the last issue about it.
So Superman's a little high on his own horse in this issue, but there is one moment in this storyline where he does look out for someone else, and he does care about someone else other than himself. And this is one of the more famous Superman moments in comic book history. I assume this is why a lot of people think that All-Star Superman is the greatest comic book story ever told in the Superman lore. And it's the scene where he helps this young person, Reagan, from committing suicide off of a building, jumping off a building to kind of, I guess, talk about somebody going through something. There's something in Reagan's life that just not able to get over. And so Superman flies over to the building and says, "You're much stronger than you think you are." And that's a very, very famous moment in Superman history. So Morgan, what did you think? Do you think this is a momentous Superman moment here?
I really liked this. Was actually my favorite moment in the issue, because there's so much stuff happening in this issue, like so much stuff involving him, swallowing some of his little friends or whatever. That felt less relatable to me. It felt like we had gotten away from Superman as like a human character, a character who connects with humanity. He was so godlike in this issue. He's creating worlds just as a science project. He's swallowing his little friends. He's like, creating civilizations and mapping his own DNA and doing all kinds of crazy stuff. And I liked that this moment was very like personal, one-on-one, very human. He hears that Reagan is thinking about, jumping off of this building. He hears Reagan talking to their therapist, and like the therapist is stuck on a train, isn't not going to get there in time. And he makes sure to take the time out of his day to have this human moment, this one-on-one moment, and say, it's never as bad as it seems, and you're so much stronger than you think you are. And they hug. And I thought, in the middle of all of the other insanity that is so far removed from like day-to-day humanity, I thought it honestly did need this sequence to kind of ground it in like, all of this other stuff that like Superman can do this and Superman can do that, and he can fix all the bridges that we're stapling. The moon.
So glad. So glad he did.
No idea what's going on with the moon now. Seems bad for the moon. But but we knew that was going to be bad for traffic patterns all over the world. But in the middle of that he could have like this human moment with somebody and really make a huge difference, but in just one person's life instead of a whole society's, I thought was a good example of why Superman is such a great character, why Superman matters so much to so many people. So I did think that it needed this sequence to like ground it a little bit more. And I did really like this sequence. I could see why this sequence would be like the pullout from this run of people like really connecting with people, because it is such a small moment, but it's very human, and it's very much what the spirit of Superman is, that he wants to reach out to everybody. He wants to help everybody. We see that later when he talks to Luthor, and he's like, "What if you used your brain for good?" And Luthor's like, just spits at the glass like a normal person. But even then, Superman is still believing in the goodness, the inherent goodness of Lex Luthor, who is not somebody who is good at all. But I think that it's nice to see that like that Superman believes in the goodness of people. He does really have that hope that we're so used to with our girl Supergirl as well. Family trait.
Yeah, I think this is a good scene, and I like the stuff with the kids in the hospital. I think those are the Superman moments in this issue that I really liked the most. Some of this other crazy stuff, I was just like, nope, this is not it for me. But those I really enjoyed. What I think is really interesting about this is that these panels, there's like 5 panels, I think, of this scene. It gets shared online like all the time.
I have, after I read this, I was like, I feel like I've seen this. So I could see, and then and when you said that this is a famous sequence from All-Star Superman, it made sense, because I was like, oh yeah, I think I actually had seen this before online.
And what's funny to me about it is if you saw those just couple of panels, you'd be like, wow, that must be a great Superman issue. And then the context surrounding all of this is like Superman playing God and creating another world.
It's very like Silver Age Superman shenanigans that he's pulling in this issue, which is so funny. And then you have this like touching human moment, and then like the next page, it's like we're in the bottle city of Kandor as they're like, okay, well, we have to fly directly into Superman and repair our cells. Like it's like we've left Earth in the very next page.
I just think it's sort of contradictory in a way where it's like Superman's just really reaching out to people and having a human moment with somebody, but like he also like created an entire universe to see like how things would be without him, because like he just wanted to make sure people cared about him. I was just like, I don't know that really jives together. So I think if you see it online without that context, yeah, it looks like a great Superman.
You're like, oh my God, what a beautiful Superman story this must be. What he must be really making a difference in the lives of people, like, you know, one-on-one kind of stuff. I bet that guy would never create a world just to see what would happen.
So it's kind of funny revisiting the context of this issue and then seeing that very famous set of panels. And it's like, you kind of need to know the context of what's happening here. What I will say is that this is such a famous scene that a lot of you know, Superman fans will talk about it. And even in season 3 of Superman and Lois, they sort of took a take on this scene. But what was cool about the way, spoiler alert for Superman and Lois season 3, but they actually had Lois be the person who inspires someone to step off, to back away from the ledge. And I thought that was such a good, it's almost more of a Lois Lane thing, I think, than a Superman thing anyway. And I really enjoyed how Superman and Lois did it because this was in the sort of the storyline of Lois Lane going through breast cancer, and just to see her in the midst of her own suffering, her own trial, she's able to inspire somebody. And so I kudos to Superman and Lois for taking, their own take on the scene and using it in such a fresh new way that I was like, okay, I really like that. All-Star Superman, for the most part, it's overrated nonsense and I don't care for it. But I like that you took that scene and tried it in a new light. So I can see why people really love this scene. But I think in the overall context of the issue, I think it shows it in a little different light when you understand what else is going on. So I think
it works for me in the context of the issue of like, this is his last day, probably. I think that's what we're supposed to assume. And he's doing all these big things. He's like reestablishing Kandor. He's creating a whole world. He's like mapping his own genome. So like he and Lois could have a child in the future. Seemed to be like the vibe that I was getting. And I was like, oh, cool. So chill. And like he's doing all these big things, fighting these big villains and figuring out these complicated, arguably too complicated situations. And then in the middle of it, he stops to take some time to help Reagan. And I do think that helped connect me back to the Superman character, because he's flown pretty far afield in this issue. Things are wild in this one.
Off the rails.
And I think for a brief moment that gets it back on the rails. And I was like, oh, Superman, like even in the middle of his, all of his crises that he's having, and he is, having to deal with the fact that he's going to die. He does take the time to help just some random person, nobody special, nobody that he already knows, just some person who's hurting, and he takes the time out to stop and talk to them. And I think that when I think the issue really needed that, because I think without that scene, everything he's doing is just crazy. Like it's up in like the 5th dimension. So it was nice to see him do something that was like human and like on the ground.
And I think in an issue where he's trying to figure out what a world without Superman would be like even if the world didn't have his superpowers and his ability to fight monsters or whatever, like the Earth is still going to spin. We're going to try to do our best. But for that person in that moment, Superman meant saving a life.
Yeah.
and carrying on. And so to that person, to Regan, Superman means the world to that person in that moment. So a world without Superman would mean that that person would have lost a life. And so I think that to me, if I wanted to try to do some analysis to connect it to that overall theme, that's kind of the way I would think about it. Mind the Gap in the chat says, unfortunately, this moment has never been adapted in other media. It sort of was on Superman and Lois, just not with Superman. Yet the closest is The Boys that made a dark parody of it. So I don't want to know what the dark parody.
I've watched like a season or two seasons of The Boys, and I can imagine it might have even been in one of those seasons. But I probably wasn't looking because The Boys can be very very gory. So I was probably like,
I don't.
this.
I like that. What I've seen of The Boys is that sometimes they show respect for Zack Snyder's contribution to superhero movies, but I just don't think that show is for me. It's maybe a little too much.
It's really dark. I think I watched the whole. I not binged the first season, but I watched them. I didn't watch them like week to week. I watched them kind of like back to back over a couple of like weeks, and I was like, this is too much. Like it's very dark. Like the tone is very very dark. So I feel like you can't. It's hard to do a lot of The Boys, at least for me, because it's so much. I'm like, oh, okay, I can't take anymore. Like everybody's so bad in this show.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like the characters are very heroic in any way, but I don't know because I haven't watched it. Mind the Gap also says, since we're still talking about this scene, that the time capsule that they recover is actually supposed to be from Regan's grandson. So that's interesting. Is that the time capsule that has like the futuristic message in it?
I think so.
So someone from the future connected to this person who almost jumped off the building has come to say, and that makes sense because it was something like "I owe you life" or something. There were a couple of instances.
I struggled with the dialogue.
It was hard to read.
He opened up that box and it's like a little circle. He's like kind of talking to a little crystal ball with like a person inside, but the dialogue is very hard. It's like greetings with an 8, and I was like, okay, but it's like Superman at 21st century, and I was like, oh no. I feel like some of the bubbles I actually tried to read out loud because I had no idea when I was just reading it in my head what it was supposed to be saying.
Yeah, there is one of the bubbles says greatest grandmo, I guess at 21st century, maybe owe life to you.
Oh,
so
yeah, that makes sense.
But then it's like forbid to sync info to you now, but I owe life. So
I think that's supposed to be like he's forbidden to send info to Superman, but he's doing it anyway because he owes them the life. But then I wasn't clear about what else was happening.
Yeah, so that would make sense. Thank you for sharing that. Mind the Gap. Morgan, is there anything about the story that we didn't talk about that you wanted to talk about, or did you want to go straight to the art?
I think there's so much happening here.
We sort of skipped over Lois and the Mechano Man thing.
Oh yeah. I didn't understand what was happening with Mechano Man. Is that like a character that pops up from time to time, or is that just for this?
I think it may be just for All-Star Superman, but I was kind of like, why is that not Toy Man?
Yeah.
Like, why wouldn't that be Toy Man? Why does that have to be like a totally different
character? Yeah, I was unclear on it. But yeah, Lois says that she basically kind of got captured on purpose so that she could finally talk to Superman, and tell him that she knows he's dying. But I don't feel like that conversation really went much of anywhere. It was more like, hey, you don't have a future with me. Like we could never have, biological children. And it's like, okay. And then he flies off again. So
yeah.
That's why I'm assuming that when he maps the DNA and he sees a way to combine it with Kryptonian strands, and he says to Lois he's leaving the future. But I think that she'd probably rather have him alive. But also this version of Lois, who knows?
Yeah, he says he says when I'm done, we'll talk about all of this. So I assume there's a conversation coming for them in the story. So we'll see. I still don't really understand their relationship fully, but we do get a continual thread of Superman and Lois here, and I think that's kind of it. I didn't have time to translate the Kryptonese that was on the last Will and Testament, so I'll try to do that this week. And
is that in the beginning of the?
It's towards the beginning. Some of it was kind of hard to read, to be honest, so I don't know that I'll be able to make it out fully, but it was something where I was like, oh, I'm gonna have to go back and try to figure that out. So I'll try to see if I can go through that and bring the Kryptonese back for next time. But I think that kind of gets us through the storyline. If that's good for you. So did you have any favorite panels or pages in this one?
Obviously the ones that we were just talking about where he saves Reagan, those like very famous panels. I thought those were really well done. I thought like it's like literally a whole page that kind of works as its own story within the story, which I think is really cool. And then I really like the beginning panel where like the beginning full page where he's sitting in his little chair with his little head thing on that he had on the people in the last issue. So I liked
the thought screen. I think
the thought screen. I like that came back, and I thought that this was like a really cool page, like full page spread. So I thought that was really neat as well.
Yeah, I think that that full page spread that you're mentioning, I think was really cool. I think actually the thought screen, is it still on? Because there's like a light coming out of one of the things, like a projector. I don't know.
Oh, maybe.
Or no, that's the thing that's writing the last Will and Testament. So maybe it's not necessarily. It might not be the thought screen that he used to communicate with Bar-El and Lilo. Maybe it's just a thing that like it translates English into Kryptonese. Maybe for him.
I could see that.
Maybe he puts that on, and so whatever he thinks goes onto the screen. So that's kind of a cool concept. Yeah, I honestly, the art for me, is kind of hit or miss. But one of the things I really liked, and we didn't really talk about this character, but there's a new character, I think, new to this issue is Mechano Man, which is a sort of a big robot kind of character with a little dude inside kind of driving it. But I like the design of that Mechano man robot. I thought that was a cool, sleek design. So that was probably my favorite thing in the issue, is just the the way that was designed, although it gets totally destroyed because Superman flies through it through the face. But that was probably my favorite part of the issue.
I liked its little helmet.
Yeah, I thought it was slick. All right, well, Morgan, sort of final thoughts about All-Star Superman number 10. I mean, we are almost at the penultimate issue.
Are moving along. I will say,
is this the anti-penultimate?
I think
Isn't there a word before penultimate? I think there is an anti.
I think it is anti-penultimate.
Penultimate.
That feels right. Yeah, I said in the last issue that it felt like we hadn't it had been a while since we had really gotten back to the main plot. So I can't complain about that of the run, because this is very much all connected to the main plot, which is Superman's impending death. I did find it very confusing, though. There was a lot going on. Superman was making some big swings, big decisions, big feelings. But I did like that, the famous panel, the famous page in here. I did like that a lot. But the rest of it really confused me. The timeline threw me off. Everything happening with Kandor was I was a little bit confused by when we just flash into them just fully inside of his body. I felt like I was having a fever dream. So yeah, this one was a mixed bag.
Yeah, I thought a lot of this was very confusing. I was kind of very confused with the time frames and where we were sometimes and who we were looking at. So it was a lot to keep up with. Talking through it really helps a lot. But in my personal reading time, very confused. A lot of ideas in this are kind of interesting, but sort of creep me out a little bit. But there are some good moments in this, and so I think the more Superman moments, I think, are what really shine in this one, despite all of the crazy stuff that's going in the story. So I'll be curious how we go into the penultimate episode as we sort of wrap up All Star Superman. We'll see if it sticks the landing. So we have 2 issues left, I think. So we'll see what happens as we move forward towards the end. Well, I think that's going to do it for this episode of Supergirl Radio. If you'd like to contact us, you can post a comment on our website at supergirlradio.com. You can email us at supergirlradio@gmail.com. You can follow us on Facebook and follow us on X and Instagram, all at Supergirl Radio. If you like what we do, we encourage you to give us a rating and write a review on Apple Podcasts or anywhere you listen to podcasts where you can leave a review. Supergirl Radio is part of the DCTV Podcast and Multiverse of Color Network, so definitely go check those out. You can hang out with us as we go live and wired on Tuesday nights, which today is Tuesday. We've been doing it on Mondays, but I was able to do Tuesdays this week. So on Tuesday nights at 9 p.m. Eastern on the DCTV Podcast YouTube channel. We also have a TeePublic store. So if you're in need of some new DC Comics, DC TV related t-shirts, tank tops, sweatshirts, magnets, tote bags, pins, phone cases, pillows, or stickers, go to supergirlradio.com and click on the TeePublic store link at the top of the page.
And since All-Star Superman number 10, was this number 10?
This was 10, yes.
Okay. We have some Kandorian designs in the DC TV Podcast TeePublic store that we would love to suggest, because those little guys, you can't forget about those little guys just because they're in a bottle.
Yeah, my favorite bottle city. There might be other bottle cities, but this one is my favorite. So we have some Kandorian designs if you want to share your love for the bottle city of Kandor. And you can also check out all of our designs in the TeePublic store. That would be cool too. We would also like to thank our legion of super sponsors for supporting the Supergirl Radio Patreon. We would like to thank Michael, Anne-Marie, Yvonne, Nicola, Abby, Miriam, Nicole, Brian, Ethan, Majuba, Juba, Annie, Rachel, and Kit. If you'd like to become a legion of super sponsor, you can go to patreon.com/Supergirl Radio. We've recently posted our sort of pilot pod, but like more like seasonal review, season 1 review of the Secret Lives of Mormon Wives.
And season 2 is right around the corner.
Season 2 is about to drop, and I'm so excited about it. So if you want to hear us talk about some reality TV, it's actually a pretty good episode of the Patreon if you're interested in that. So it's a season long review. So if you want to go watch the show and then come back and tell us how much you love Whitney, you can do that. And then I think this week we'll post the Joker 1 review. So the original Joker movie with Joaquin Phoenix, we will post that review. And then we'll get to Folia de when we record that next. So we've got some cool Patreon stuff coming out, and be watching out for that. If you would like to follow me on the interwebs, you can do so in a couple of places. I'm on Vero True Social at Derby Kid. I'm on Instagram at The Derby Kid. I'm on YouTube at youtube.com/DuckMilkProd. And I do a travel blog with my brother at Oasis Broom on social media and on YouTube.
Cool. And you can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Mojotastic. You can also find me as a co-host on the Legendary Ladies podcast, where in our last episode, we talked about the dramedy, I would say, called The Wedding Banquet. That was sort of barely in theaters. I got to see it like one day before it went out of theaters, and there was only one showtime, and it was at a theater that was like a half an hour away from me. So I had to really work to see this movie. But it was, so Kat and I talk about, was it a comedy? Was it a drama? And whether or not the movie worked for us. So if you are one of the dozens of people who've seen The Wedding Banquet, you should check out that episode.
Yeah, that sounds very cool. And I don't know if you've seen this, but I've seen videos going around talking about going to see movies. I've seen videos of Lilo and Stitch, the live action animated movie, or the live action movie of the animated movie, which they should go the opposite way, and they should
We
start with
keep-
Captain Ron. They should start with
keep
Captain.
proposing this. They keep going animated to live action. We want live action animated, and we think that we should start with the seminal work, Captain Ron. It just makes sense.
This is a whole episode of the Supergirl Radio Patreon that you should join the Patreon just for that one.
The people cry out for it.
But there is something happening in the movie theaters. I don't know if it's all movie theaters, but I've seen video clips of a little Stitch. It's a little Stitch robot that is scanning people's tickets.
This did not happen in any of my movie theaters. And I say this because last week I called it my cinephile week because I went to not one, not two, but 3 movies in 1 week. 3 movies in 1 week.
Wow.
I saw The Wedding Banquet on Tuesday. I saw the re-release, the 20th anniversary re-release of Pride and Prejudice on Wednesday.
Okay.
I don't accept that it's been 20 years.
Nope.
But that's neither here nor there.
That's not a real thing.
And then I saw Sinners on Saturday. But at it's really good. But at no point did a Stitch ever scan me in. And now I'm mad.
So I don't know if this is a thing that is happening in all theater locations, if it's a special theater location, or if it's like something that's only like it happened maybe like at one day or one location. But it's the cutest thing ever because
That's
Stitch,
so cute.
He has like a little scanner and he scans the ticket and he says thank you, and it's so adorable. So I was like, if Disney put that little Stitch in every theater across the country, I'm going to the theater. Like that's going to get me to go see that movie. I was maybe like on the fence, but if I can interact with Stitch, that's how you get me there.
This is how we get more people to go to the theater. Don't stop like shortening the release windows. What you want to do is just have a Stitch scanning you in, or as Abby said, I saw a video of a Stitch jumping out of a popcorn bucket. If I thought at any point a Stitch could just jump out of a popcorn bucket, I would go every day.
I would see that movie 10 times just for it.
They would say, ma'am, the movie won't start for hours, and I would say, I'm here anyway.
Let's see if I can find that actually while we're here. Just because I thought that was actually a pretty smart idea if movie theaters started doing things like that to actually get you to come
more of an
to the theater.
Because, one of the problems, and I'm just such an old person when I complain about this, is that they've been shortening the release windows. I saw there was a movie called Drop that came out in theaters that looked ridiculous. And I was like, that could be really fun. And then I turned on my TV like a week later and it was available on demand. So,
oh my gosh. What was the point of going to the theater then?
I guess I'm not going to see that. If I really want to, I'll just watch it at home. But if I knew that there was a Stitch waiting for me on the other side, I'd be so much more willing to go.
We all want an experience is what we want.
Exactly.
Okay, let me see if did I share it with the audio? Hang on, let me stop sharing and then reshare to make sure that the audio is there. Yes, okay. Because I think you have to see it because now it's like I want this to be in my movie theater.
This has to.
It's adorable.
That's so cute.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I want that at my movie theater. Kenny asked an interesting question. I wonder what Superman popcorn bucket will be. Any guesses, ladies? Because I know the popcorn bucket is the new hot thing. It's like how they're trying to get. I think it all started with the Dune popcorn bucket, which was one of the most ridiculous things I've ever seen. I went to go see Dune with somebody who then was like, I got to do it, and bought the popcorn bucket.
Why?
And it was an unpleasant experience trying to get popcorn out of that thing. I like did it one time and I was like, never again.
I would not want it.
But now popcorn buckets are all the rage. So yeah, what do we think? The Superman one.
I hope it doesn't have the abs on it, like the backpack.
Oh no, yes. Good point. That would be so disturbing.
I don't need abs on my popcorn bucket.
Just a torso that you eat popcorn out of. It's giving Silence of the Lambs. I want it to be like, I think it should be like a little crypto.
It could be a little crypto,
like a little crypto shape with a little cape.
It could have a cape on it. I think a popcorn bucket with a cape would be totally appropriate.
That would be really cute.
I'm a simple person though. You give me a popcorn bucket with an S shield. I'm good to go. Like, I don't think it has to be fan. Like, I think WB might overthink this.
They're gonna overthink it for sure because when I went to one of the million times I went to the movies last week, there was just like a whole table of like it's like the Island of Misfit Toys, but it was like the Island of Misfit popcorn buckets, and it was like all like recent movies that had come out in like the last couple of weeks, but like maybe weren't out anymore or were like just ending their runs, and their popcorn buckets were there, and I was like, is that like a Snow White popcorn bucket? What popcorn bucket is this? They were all so many sad popcorn buckets, so sad and alone, and I just bummed me out. I was like, why are we making these? Does anybody want them really?
What was the Snow White popcorn bucket?
I don't remember what it was. I feel like it might have been like a little woods or something, and then like you put the popcorn in the middle or something. I don't know. It was very strange. It did immediately. There was one popcorn bucket that was so confusing that we spent like some time debating like what it could possibly be a popcorn bucket to. And that's when, if that's what your idea for the popcorn bucket is, just let them eat regular popcorn out of like just a paper bucket. You don't have to. Not everyone has to have a great idea.
I think if you give me just an S shield on the popcorn bucket, I'm reusing that all the time.
Well, it's funny because I have never seen a Saw movie, but one time we went to the movies and they gave us a commemorative Jigsaw popcorn tin, like popcorn bucket tin, made
Terrifying.
of tin. And then I was like, oh, we can't throw it out. This is why I can't have popcorn buckets, because I was like, we can't throw it out. It's wasteful. And Michael's like, what would you ever use this tin Jigsaw popcorn bucket for? And I was like, you don't know, all kinds of things. And now it's just sitting like on top of on top of something,
just staring at you
the side, and occasionally I'll just get like a little glimpse of Jigsaw, and I'll like, so yeah, but also the simplicity of that popcorn bucket actually made it somewhat functional. It's like I could make my own popcorn. I could say, thank you, Jigsaw, sir, and I could put it into his bucket. It's not like a weird like little thing where it's like it's a house, so you put your hand into this and then you get out, and then you get those popcorn buckets. I'm wrapping up my rant.
No, it's good.
It's so much smaller than you would get if you had just gotten a large popcorn.
Oh yeah,
you're just like getting robbed of the actual popcorn, the thing that goes in the bucket. Anyway, that's
I agree. I think it should not take away from the quantity of the popcorn.
Exactly. Like give me a nice bucket that just has a photo of the movie that I'm going to see. Just commemoratively.
Just a Superman S shield, maybe a crypto on it. Superman.
I'm telling you,
I'm good.
The popcorn bucket for Superman is going to be shaped like crypto. It's going to be like a little dog, and you're going to like put your arm in the back of the little dog. It's going to be kind of disturbing.
The back of the little dog?
Maybe.
No.
Or maybe through his mouth or something scary.
Which is worse.
Which is worse. And then there's going to be about 5 popcorn kernels that are going to fit into the dog. And then like, before the previews are over, you've eaten all your popcorn.
You're done. Yeah.
You spent like $20 on that bucket, so you're not going out for more.
Yeah. Just an S shield. Done.
Just an S shield. You don't have to do all of that.
Yeah, we're good. I think
you go from that.
Yeah, I really think they could use us as consultants for their merchandise. Well, okay. I think we covered a lot here. So.
We certainly did.
All right. Well, I think that's going to do it for this episode of Supergirl Radio. But until next time, I'm still Rebecca Johnson.
And I'm still Morgan Glennon. And this is going to change everything.
McGurk! I love typing.
Not mess with my Google Docs, Meeksy.
Supergirl Radio is going live every night of the week. How do you like it? Is becoming a human burrito a plus or a minus? I don't know. It does seem snug.
I mean, they say you are what you eat.
Kira. I love that. So I do a podcast called Supergirl Radio, and one of our segments is Lena Luthor, Boardroom or Ballroom. Because
she looks like a boss in this coat.
Nasty Luthor like a different Luthor? It's not just Lena being mean?
No.
Helen Slater here. So fun to know that you're hosting a podcast called Supergirl Radio.
Yeah!